the Titans, or Titan Heroes. Originally, I was going to include all the Titans from Crash of the Titans on this list, as you can play as any one of them in Crash of the Titans and Mind of a Mutant. However, I decided to cut back on them, and because there are about too many of them, I then decided to pick only the ones who got solo hero counterparts in Mind of a Mutant. This includes the Spike, Snipe, Brimley, Magma Duck, Raticle, Sludge, and the mighty Scorporilla. The rest perhaps might be only worthy of costumes for Crash. I'm also debating on including the Yuctopus and Arachnina, as they are the only ones of their kind. Maybe there'll be a costume based on the Arachnina for Nina Cortex instead. Speaking of costumes, during the Spyro Grand Prix, Crunch and Coco had mutant costumes based on their boss battles from Mind of a Mutant. And I wonder if Cortex will get his mutant costume in the game, like he did in Mind of a Mutant. Then again, his Mega Mix costume was kind of enough. What about Uka Uka as his tree mutant? But then who would be his mask? By the way, I have heard that Scorporilla is making a boss appearance in the Crash Bandicoot mobile game. Also, should I include the residents of the Raticle Kingdom and the Sludge Trio and the Sludge Salesman? The Titans Mutants. This includes the Ratnicians, the Koalas, the Doom Monkeys, the Voodoo Bunnies, and the Brat Girls. Why? Because in Crash of the Titans, along with the Titans, you get to play as them. Sort of. You're actually wearing costumes based on it. When you do, you are granted the power that allows you to instantly kill the minions depending on which costume you're wearing. The same can happen when you're wearing the Titans costumes. Also, each of the minions have somewhat of their own personality, which I can definitely see them making an appearance in the game. Don't know about this new or Slappy from Mind of a Mutant, as they never got the costume made for Crash. Mr. Crumb, Thornthing, Grumbler, and Digger. Fun fact, in 1998, the same year for Crash Bandicoot 3, there was another game called Crash Bandicoot 99X made for a special handheld console called Tiger 99X Handheld. It included its own set of bosses, one being Mr. Crumb the Ghost, Thornthing the Tree, Grumbler the Mummy, and Digger the Skeleton. I know what you're thinking, that doesn't sound very Crash-like, it's more of Spyro's thing. Well, it wouldn't hurt to include them in Nitro-Fueled, or do these characters belong to Hasbro since they bought the company Tiger Electronics, who made the game. There is a gameplay of it on YouTube somewhere, I'll link it in the description, but that's all I know about these characters. Gurin, Junia, and or her father. These three characters were made exclusively for the manga called Dansu de Jump na de Daiboken. Gurin is a penguin who's Penta's girlfriend, but she has an immense crush on Crash. Junior is a good spike turtle who wants to help her father get off his addiction to power crystals. While they may seem a bit too childish to appear in the game, I think Nitro-Fueled can toughen them a bit. But would it require a bit of licensing in order to get either of those characters into the American game? I don't know. I mean, here's a little fun fact. Fake Crash was originally made as a knockoff toy of Crash in Japan. Naughty Dog became aware of this and poked fun of it by creating their own fake Crash. Ironically, he became popular in Japan, so much that he had a Japanese exclusive appearance in Crash Bash. If they can do that with fake Crash, surely they can do the same with Gurin, Junia, and or her father. A brand new character who looks like the Crash of the Titans version of Tiny Tiger. This is going to be a controversial one, but I do kind of wish to see this version of Tiny come to Nitro-Fueled. But not as Tiny, but as a completely new character with the personality of that version of Tiny. For those who don't know, during the production of Crash of the Titans, Radical Entertainment, the developers of the game, were not familiar with extinct animals, and thus they retooled Tiny from being a Tasmanian tiger to becoming a Bengal or Siberian tiger. Not only that, they gave him a new personality. being more intelligent, fast-talking, but also whiny. This portrayal of Tiny was about as praised as the 1998 American Godzilla, also known as Zilla. However, I have this one question to ask you. Would he still be this widely hated if he was called something else and not Tiny? Sure, he still wouldn't be as praised as Tiny or most of the other characters, but he would have gotten a lot more fans if he was named something else. In fact, Beanox should take this version of Tiny and rename him. His personality and appearance are different enough to make him a new character separate from Tiny. Just change the name and you're good to go. It happened with Hasty, who was based on a falsely rumored Scrap character, and it happened with Apo Apo, who is based on the Crash of the Titans versions of Aku Aku and Uka Uka. Brand new characters based on Uka Uka's ice and tree bodies. I don't think we're ever going to have Aku Aku or Uka Uka as actual creatures, because if we do, who are going to be their invincibility masks? I remember Uka Uka making himself bodies to fight against Crash, an ice body for Crash Twin Sanity, and a tree body for Crash of the Titans. The only way I can see these bodies appearing in the game is if they were remade as brand new characters, and replaced Uka Uka's head with new heads. Of course, this is perhaps very unlikely, but it's just a thought. Aku Aku on Crash, Uka Uka on Cortex. Then again, having Aku Aku and Uka Uka as drivers while also playing as masks might be a giggle-worthy novelty. I can see them on the track, but only if they possess their main man, Crash and Cortex. Then again, that Iron Box is able to drive with no limbs, so maybe Aku Aku and Uka Uka can drive with their magic. Maybe Aku Aku can defend Uka Uka during the use of the invincibility mask, and vice versa. Willy the Wombat, Carbon Crash, Crash Mascot, or Human Crash. Originally, the leaked name of Driver I am as important as the Bandicoot so I should be the main character was giving off a hint that we might be playing as either the prototype or human version of Crash. However, that name ended up being a sentient iron checkpoint crate. But I still think we might get at least one of these versions of Crash Bandicoot as playable characters in the game. Aside from Evil Crash, which I did mention in this video, I can imagine playing as Willy the Wombat, who was the prototype version of Crash Bandicoot. Carbon Crash, who is basically a second player skin for the Crash of the Titans Crash. The Crash Bandicoot mascot based on that guy wearing the suit in several commercials in the 90s to present. And finally, Human Crash, because why not? Carbon Crash can be a skin for regular Crash and the rest can be brand new racers, but if I have to say anything about Willy the Wombat, he might have to be renamed as Willy has been used for Willy Wampa cheeks. They did give him some names like Wez, Wuzzles, or Wizzies. Which one do you think fits the best for him? Also, can his design be based on one of Butch Hartman's designs for Willy? Disclaimer. Before you guys kill me for bringing him up, I am aware of the controversies behind Butch Hartman, especially with the Oax's campaign. However, his actions do not taint my overall enjoyment of his works, like The Fairly Odd Parents and Danny Phantom. His campaign may be manipulative and misleading, but he still had a great legacy, just like John Crispolucci and Chris Savino. You have the right to like his works, but not his lifestyle. Different elemental crunches, or the Elementals, Rocco, Wawa, Pyro, and Lolo. Do you think they work better as skins for Crunch or as brand new characters? Let's just say I thought maybe the Elementals, Rocco, Wawa, Pyro, and Lolo should have some involvement in Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled, perhaps as masks for either new characters or skins. Funny enough, Lolo's voice actor Jess Harno would later become the voice of Crash himself. And if they could bring back those masks, I fear only Lolo's voice will return as the other voice actors are not credited. Not even Thomas F. Wilson or Mark Hamill. Sadly, Arlie Ermey passed away 2 years ago, so there's no chance to hear him again as Wawa. Either that or they'll just have the generic Ooga Booga voices. Perhaps in order to bring back the elements, they need to make 4 brand new characters who each associate with those elements, or give as many characters as they can an elemental skin, or even have Crunch be the one to have all 4. After all, they were the reason Crunch was born in Wrath of Cortex. they made them more powerful and strong enough for combat. Although the prominent way to feature them is to have them in a new Grand Prix, which sadly we're not gonna get. Which is sad because they had potential for this. Land Shark. This character was originally supposed to be included in the 2010 version of Crash Team Racing alongside Crash, Polar, and Dingodile. However, the game was scrapped and remade into DreamWorks Superstar Cards, and the Land Shark never got revived. To some of you, he might not be necessary because we already have a shark who walks on land, Nash. However, I kinda see the Land Shark as a completely different character to Nash. He's more savage and snarly than Nash, which should have him qualify enough to become a new racer. Either that or you can make him another animal like a killer whale or a tiger shark. That's what they did with Hasty. They made him from a hippo to a moose.
Hey! Yeah, you! I've been doing this for 10 stinking years! Back and forward, and I'm sick of it! Well, I'm not gonna do it no more!
Maybe he should become playable. I mean, if that crate can be playable, anyone in the Crash universe can become playable. A Wampa Fruit, a gem, a crystal, a trophy, a relic, etc. I mean, if we get to play as a boxing Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled, expect any other inanimate object to be raceable. Professor, Crush, Gulp, Blink, Rip Talk, Rhinoc, Bianca, Moneybags, Ancient Nine, and or Sergeant James Bird. Okay, I'm a bit selfish or greedy with this one. If any of you have played the Game Boy Advance, Spyro, and Crash Fusion games, most of these characters have been in the game, and most if not all of them have met Crash. I know this is mainly Crash's game, but aside from Ripto and the Sorceress, who are in fact leaked, I can see a handful of characters appearing in Nitro-Fueled as well. The ones I think have the best chance appearing in the game are the Professor, Crush, Gulp, and Sergeant James Bird because of their voice actors Tom Kenny and Greg Berger being in the credits. Although I have not heard good reception on Crush and Gulp's talking appearance in Enter the Dragonfly, they better stick to just the roars and grunts. Maybe Blink can slip in too, as his debut wasn't Spyro A Hero's Tale, but the Spyro and Crash Fusion games. But should he sound older or just like his younger self? I don't know if Nasty Nork or the Sorceress's minions like Buzz, Metalhead, Bluto, and Jacques are ever going to appear or ever going to slip in. For one, they're not as memorable as Crush and Gulp, who have appeared in 4 games before the Reunited trilogy. The rest only appeared once. Perhaps they should consider doing another Spyro Crash crossover game, whether action or racing or party. Boy Charles Zembalas, were you somewhat ripped off. Naughty Dog wanted you to design a hyena character, but alas, they changed it from being anthropomorphic to just a regular hyena. And in the end, he was completely cut out entirely. What a load of Wampa Fruits. Beanox, can you bring this poor man's design to life? Several unused characters in Crash Twinsanity. I have heard that Vicarious Visions is presumably trying to remaster Crash Twinsanity, and perhaps fixing up or add in what the original developers wanted in the game. But Universal loves to rush companies, don't they? Activision thankfully gives their studios 1 to 4 years to make their games. While that's going on, there are some characters in the Unseen Gallery which could potentially make for brand new characters, whether they are enemies, bosses, or normal NPCs. These include the 3-headed monster, Squawk and Squibble, the prototype versions of Victor and Moritz but more cockatoo-like, the Ant Leader or Medium Ant, the Brainy Ant, the Fish People, the Elephant Sailor, the Fish Queen, the old guy holding a lamppost-like weapon who kinda reminds me of Kane from the Legend of Spyro series, the Goat King, the Turtle Explorer who kinda reminds me of Bentley from Sly Cooper before he was injured, Kapu Kapu, presumably other members of Papu Papu's tribe but with more distinctive features, a platypus with bombs, a teddy with a monkey face, even has its own car, Old Man Turtle, and the evil tree-like creature. Perhaps Twinsanity's attempt to bring back the Thorn Thing in Crash Bandicoot 99X. Maybe only a few or none will appear, but just to give you an idea of what Beanox could do with them. Now here's my very last one on the list. The last one to be included on the list. And that is... any of the Skylanders. Now I know what you're thinking. Some of you might be like, oh no, not that franchise that disfigured Spyro the Dragon. Besides, that franchise is dead. Well, you are correct. Sort of. There is the Ring of Heroes mobile game, which is about to be rebooted as far as I'm aware. But you do have to keep in mind, Skylanders is what brought back Crash Bandicoot from his classic roots. Many people did not like the way Crash got redesigned in the Titans Mutant games. His appearance in Skylanders brought back his classic looks. The same can be said with Dr. Neo Cortex, Akuraku, and Uka-Uka. I mean, I heard their Titans counterparts weren't that praised as well. Knowing that this game is made by Beanox, the ones who brought us the racing portions of Skylanders Superchargers and the Wii and 3DS spin-off, Superchargers Racing, you'd think they would slip in a few Skylanders into the game. Also, I noticed quite a number of Skylanders assets being used in Nitro-Fueled. For example, Dark Spyro's color scheme is based on his Skylanders counterpart. The promo art for Skylanders Cortex was used for the concepts of Cortex's castle. The two sumo gelatins, they remind me of Shock and Bolt, the puzzle characters from Skylanders Swap Force. And I think I saw the magic and undead element of symbols in the game, the magic being used as a base for the flags, and the undead used for after you capture some ghosts in Nina's Nightmare. If I had to choose my top 5 picks, it would be Trigger Happy, Gilgrunt, Stealth Elf, Eruptor, and Chaos. And maybe bring back their signature vehicles from Superchargers as well. Some Skylanders could even make good costumes for some Crash characters, like Countdown for Entrance, Wolfgang for Tiny, Snapshot for Dingo Doll, etc. Of course, this is very unlikely, and it probably will never happen, hence why it's on the bottom of the list. It's just something I wanted to see in the game just for fun, that's all.
Our Skylands! Game on!
And these are my predictions for who is going to be in Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled. Some of them might happen, some of them might not. You may agree with some of my choices and you may not agree with some of them. What are your choice of characters to appear in the next update for Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled until they stop altogether? Let me know in the comments. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Wait a minute, fellas. I got one more. Black Rhino Ranger and Cool Croc. Okay, I'm just messing with you, fellas.